Hello, my dear friend. This is Lety, and you're listening to Lety's English Podcast, wherever you are right now in the quiet of your room, on a noisy bus, maybe with a cup of tea, or simply lying on the grass looking up at the sky. I want to say thank you for inviting me into your world. Today, I want to take you on a real journey. A journey not only with my voice, but with your own heart. Let's slow down together. Take a long, deep breath with me. Let all the noise, all the busy thoughts fade for a little while, because this is a story about living with authentic intention, about moving with skillful action, and about becoming unshakable in a world that often feels uncertain. What does unshakable mean to you? Is it never being sad, never being afraid? Or is it maybe something softer, something stronger, a quiet trust in yourself? A deep root that holds steady even as the winds of life howl all around you? I believe that the secret to being truly unshakable lies in the dance between your truest intentions and the wise, gentle actions you take each day. So let's walk this path together through stories, through memories, through the laughter, and the tears that make us all human. Maybe by the end of this journey, you'll see yourself and your life a little differently. Asterisk, there's a story I've carried with me for many years. It begins not with a hero, but with a question. When I was young, I thought the strongest people in the world were those who never doubted, who always spoke with confidence, who seemed to know their path from the very start. But the older I get, the more I understand that real strength comes not from certainty, but from honesty, from the courage to ask yourself again and again, what do I truly want? And am I brave enough to live it? I remember the first time I met Mrs. Tran. She was my neighbor, already in her 70s, with a garden full of wildflowers and a kitchen that always smelled of cinnamon. Every morning, she would water her plants and talk softly to the earth. To me, as a child, she seemed like a little bit of magic, gentle but firm. Rooted but curious about the world, one rainy afternoon, I found her sitting by her window, sketching the raindrops as they slid down the glass. She looked up and smiled, a little sad, and said, "You know, Lety, I spent so many years doing what everyone else expected. I was a daughter, a wife, a mother. But in my heart, I always wanted to be a painter. I just never started." I asked, "Why not?" She shrugged, and there was so much in that small gesture: fear, habit, maybe even regret. It never seemed like the right time. There was always something more important. And then when I had the time, I thought maybe I'm too old. Maybe I missed my chance. But as the days grew longer that spring, something changed. Mrs. Tran bought herself a set of watercolors, soft pastels, blues and greens that looked like the sea she'd never seen in real life. She began painting just a little. Every evening as the sun went down, her hands were unsteady at first, her lines uncertain, but the colors were full of feeling. And every painting was a small celebration. When I asked her, months later, if she regretted starting so late, she laughed a sound like wind through leaves. "Regret? No, darling. I regret only that I waited so long. But every day I paint now is a day I feel truly alive." Her words stayed with me. They became a seed in my own life. Reminder that it's never too late to listen for the quiet voice inside, to honor what matters, and to take that first trembling, beautiful step. Asterisk. There's something quietly beautiful about watching someone start again. It doesn't matter if they are 17 or 70. There's a kind of light in the eyes, a mix of hope, fear, and excitement that glows brighter than youth itself. I saw this in Mrs. Tran, and I've seen it in so many others since. Then, some people imagine that intention is something fixed, a dream you carry from childhood, unchanging, always clear. But in truth, Intention is alive. It changes as you change. Sometimes it's born from struggle or heartbreak, or a sudden spark of curiosity. Other times, it grows slowly like a seed hidden under snow, waiting for the right season to bloom. I want to tell you about my friend Marco. Marco was an accountant for most of his life. He wore gray suits, worked late hours, and was known for being reliable, practical, and quiet. His life was not unhappy, but he sometimes felt as if he was only watching himself from a distance, not really living. He told himself he was being responsible, paying bills, taking care of family, building a secure future. But something began to change after his children left for college. Marco started waking up early, walking through the still dark city before sunrise. At first, he listened to podcasts, news, music, anything to fill the silence. But over time, he let himself walk in quiet. He began to notice the colors of the morning sky, the way light shifted across old buildings, the sound of birds waking up. One day, he borrowed his daughter's old camera and took a photo of the sun coming up behind the train station. That one photo changed everything. Marco started carrying the camera every morning. His walks became a ritual, a private, gentle practice that had nothing to do with duty and everything to do with wonder. He began to share his photos online just for fun, never thinking they'd mean much to anyone else. But slowly, people started to notice. They commented, shared, encouraged him to keep going. By the time Marco was 55, he built a quiet following of people who loved seeing his city through his eyes. He wasn't famous. He didn't quit his job or become rich overnight, but his intention to see, to notice, to share beauty gave his days a new energy. He was no longer living by default. He was living with attention in every action he took. No matter how small, felt more meaningful. One evening, over tea, Marco told me something I'll never forget. He said, "You know, Lety, I used to think purpose was something you chase, something big, something the world had to notice. But now I think maybe purpose is just living honestly with yourself. Maybe it's just letting what you care about shape your days." His words have echoed in my mind many times. So often, we wait for a sign or permission or some huge breakthrough before we allow ourselves to act with intention. But life is made of small things. The first brushstroke, the morning walk, the way you greet the day or say goodnight to yourself in the mirror. Maybe you're listening now and thinking, I don't know my intention. I don't have a grand dream. That's okay. Sometimes intention is just about presence. It's about asking yourself, what feels honest for me today? What small thing can I do? Not because I have to, but because it feels real. I remember a time when I was lost in my own life. I had just finished university and everyone around me seemed to have a plan, a job, a relationship, a 5-year roadmap, but I was floating, drifting from one idea to the next, unsure of what I wanted, afraid of choosing the wrong thing. I spent days journaling, walking by the river, sitting in old bookstores with a notebook open, but nothing to write. I wanted an answer to fall from the sky, to tell me what to do, but all I found was silence, frustration, and a growing impatience with myself. One afternoon, I met an old teacher at a cafe. She listened to me ramble, nodded, and finally asked, "What if you don't need to know the whole story right now? What if you just need to take the next honest step?" Her words landed softly but powerfully. I realized I'd been waiting for certainty when what I needed was courage to start, even if I didn't know the ending. So I made a promise to myself. Each day I would ask, what is one thing I can do right now that feels true? Some days it was writing a page in my journal. Other days it was making a phone call or taking a walk or saying yes or no to something small. Slowly, As days became weeks and weeks became months, I found myself growing steadier. Not because my life was perfect, but because I was living it moment by moment, with as much honesty as I could find, asterisk. And so, as we come to the end of this journey together, I hope you remember, you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next honest step with an open heart and gentle courage, even if life feels uncertain, even if you've fallen before, your roots are deeper than you know. Every small action, taking with true intention, makes you stronger day by day. So let's promise to live with purpose, to act with care, and to hold steady, no matter the weather outside. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you have a story or a dream, share it with me and our community. We're here to listen, to support, and to remind you. You're already becoming unshakable just by being true to yourself. This is Lety, sending you hope and encouragement. See you in the next episode.